Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. Welcome to another edition of the Developer Experience Office Hours here on OpenShift TV. I am Chris Short, executive producer of OpenShift TV, and I'm joined today by a regular face, Ryan Jarvinen, but also two new faces, Marc Nuri and Rohan Kumar. Marc, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, hello. I'm Marc. I work as a software engineer for Red Hat, and I'm currently maintaining the Fabricate Kubernetes client and the Eclipse JCube project, which we will be showing today.
Awesome. Rohan, go next, please.
Hi guys. I'm Rohan, and I'm also working together with Marc on Eclipse JCube and Fabricate Kubernetes client, and I'm really excited to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. We're happy to have you here. So, this is new to me. I'll be honest with y'all. So, Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself first? Sorry, I totally forgot.
No problem. Yeah. And I'm a regular on the channel, so hopefully say hello in chat if you've seen me before. I'm Ryan J. From the Developer Advocate team, OpenShift Developer Advocate team. I have had the chance to use Fabricate a couple times in the past. So I'm really excited to see how things have evolved with this JCube project.
Yeah, as am I.
Are folks in chat familiar with Fabricate? Hopefully we get some responses in there from the past, especially if you're doing kind of automation around Java projects. Fabricate hopefully is familiar for some of you folks. I'm going to pull up the chat and jump in there with you folks. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to throw them at us, and we'll do our best to answer as usual.
Code Walla Walla says Fabricate is great. JP Did says he has no experience with Fabricate. So this is a good audience already. Cool. Marc, you want to kind of show us?
Okay, I just want to start with a little note. Fabricate was a huge ecosystem which consisted of several projects. So this is also important to highlight. JCube, for those who were familiar with Fabricate, JCube is the successor for the Fabricate Maven plugin, just this part. Okay, so most of the Fabricate ecosystem is deprecated. The other project that is still alive is the Kubernetes client, which we also, Rohan and I, maintain. And yeah, these are... well, there are a few other projects that are still alive, but these are the two that we handle. So what we are going to show today is more the part or the new version of what the Fabricate Maven plugin used to be. So in case you were a Java developer, you might be familiar with this plugin, which is something that you would add to your project in order to make it compatible with the cloud. Right,
Awesome.
to be able to deploy your application to a Kubernetes cluster. So
yeah, I'm familiar with Fabricate, but JCube is all new to me. So I'm super excited about this show because I get to learn something. So what is JCube? What is its goal?
Yeah, okay. So for those of you who don't know what Fabricate Maven plugin was, or in case you've forgotten, JCube is this successor for this, and what it basically is a set of tools and plugins that will allow you to deploy your Java applications into Kubernetes or OpenShift. Okay, so it consists of three components. The core logic is implemented in something that we call Kit, and this exposes a Java API that you can use to generate your container images or your cluster configuration manifests. So on top of this core kit, what we have developed are two Maven plugins. The first one, the Kubernetes Maven plugin, is the one that you would be using if you are using a vanilla Kubernetes cluster, or you are targeting a vanilla Kubernetes cluster. And you can use this to generate container images and then to generate the cluster configurations, your YAML files, and to apply them to the cluster. It will also offer other things like generating Helm charts and so on. But just for for the overview, it's not that necessary. Then on top of this Kubernetes Maven plugin, we have the OpenShift Maven plugin, which is more specific if you are targeting an OpenShift cluster. So in this case, the default build strategy will be S2I binary builds. So this is what will be, the builds will be performed in the cluster. And then it will generate more OpenShift specific configuration. So for example, it will use deployment configs, or it will generate routes and so on. So it will produce YAML configurations which are more specific for OpenShift. Nice. Okay, so basically, just in a nutshell, it's just a Maven plugin that you will be able to add to your project, and it will automatically allow your application to move into the cloud. So the way this works, if you are familiar with other tools such as dev files or scaffolding or so on, in those you usually configure the way in which you want your images to be built and how you want them to be deployed. You provide something, right? In the case of JCube or the Kubernetes Maven plugin or the OpenShift Maven plugin, it's a little bit different. So JCube is smarter in a way, and in this case, the first step that will do the project whenever you invoke any of our goals is analyze your project. It will check the dependencies, the properties, the configurations, and so on. And it will do this to detect which frameworks or which technologies your Java project is based on. According to these inferred configurations or input variables, it will generate some opinionated defaults, and it will generate your images and your configurations according to these defaults that we consider are the best for that application, considering the framework and so on. So for very simple applications, just by adding the plugin to your Maven POM XML, it would be enough to deploy that application into the cloud. So, of course, there are applications which have higher complexity, and we all want to configure more specific stuff and so on. And then we have options to configure the way the JCube behaves. So you can provide some XML configuration in order to override the defaults that we inferred for you, or you can provide even small fragments of your cluster configuration manifest, the YAML files. You can provide partial files that JCube will read, and it will merge with the ones it generates for you. So yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool, and in case you're working with Java projects, it's something that it's definitely worth a try.
Awesome. So in case you're watching the stream chat, there is a developer experience feedback survey. Let us know what you think about this episode. Let us know what you want to see in the future as well. So feel free to hit that while we're going on here. So Marc,
Also,
oh, go ahead, Ryan, sorry.
Shout out to Natali Vinto, Bluesman84 in chat. He's not here quite yet today. He might drop in a little bit later, depending. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But thanks again to Natali Vinto for helping invite our guest today and bring this topic to the show. So thanks again. Let us know via that survey link if you have topics you'd like to see.
Nice. All right, so want to show this thing off here, Marc?
Yeah. Okay, so let me start by sharing the screen. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. Just let me know.
You can do it, I believe.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. Yeah, it looks like folks from the audience seem to be vaguely, the folks that are chatting at least, sound like they're somewhat familiar with Fabric 8. Mm-hmm. and definitely with Java.
Okay, so I'm not sure if my screen is already. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so we are usually when we are demoing or in other conferences, talks, and so on, we are usually showing the inner loop. So how a developer interacts with OpenShift or Kubernetes by using JCube. And today we wanted to show something different, because in most cases, JCube is something that you want to use in the outer loop too. So to define your pipelines and maybe your continuous delivery strategies. And the plan for today is to bootstrap a Quarkus application, add JCube, push an image into Quay registry, and then deploy this image into the developer sandbox cluster that Red Hat provides for developers. All of this using a GitHub Actions workflow. So yeah, I don't know if it's clear so far. Okay.
Sounds
good. Okay.
Question in chat: what is the integration with CI/CD tools such as Jenkins or Tecton like? Are you going to?
Okay, so you will see today with GitHub Actions or with a GitHub workflow, it will be more or less the same with Jenkins. Basically, you would. I mean, when we finish the pipeline, you will see that it's something really straightforward and it easily portable to any other platform like CircleCI, Tecton, Jenkins, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to start with this repository, which is now empty. Okay, and
Sweet.
The only things that I have are 4 secrets that will be used in the pipeline in order to be able to both deploy into Quay. These are some credentials for Quay, and this is the token for the sandbox. Okay.
Got it.
So first step. So if you want to bootstrap a Quarkus application, easiest way, you go into code.quarkus.io and you add whatever dependencies you want. In this case, I'm going to add REST-easy, and you click on download a zip, and there you go. You have a bootstrap application for you. So this is my IDE. I'm going to unzip this here. Okay. Second. Okay, 1 second, because.
And by the way, audience, if you cannot read something on screen, please let us know. We can always tweak things.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now it's taking a little while, but anyway.
Well, you've got your camera and everything else on. You got to unzip something, compression, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay, so now it's recognized the project. I don't know why it's not showing up here.
Yeah, I always struggle to do demos and type at the same time, and especially try following along with chat at the same time as well.
That's why I'm here.
Another level of yeah, exactly.
Okay. Anyway, the project structure has updated. Yeah, this is unnecessary. Okay. So, well, when you bootstrap the Quarkus project, the first thing that you might notice is that it creates this Docker directory with some Docker files, lots of stuff here, both for native and for JVM mode. So the good thing with JCube is that we can go ahead and remove this. Not needed. Okay, let me check my notes. I don't want to miss anything. Okay, so also, the Bootstrap project contains a test which tests the endpoint. I'm going to remove this because I'm going to change the endpoint a little bit. So in order to speed things up, I'm going to remove the tests. But please never remove your tests. In fact, you should be adding tests for everything that you implement. Okay. So okay, so this is the endpoint that's provided for you when you bootstrap the project, and it says hello REST-easy. Let's modify this to OpenShift. Okay, and now basically.
Uh-oh, did we lose you?
Might have lost him. I don't know.
Yeah, he said he was having power issues. His screen share's still going though.
Yeah, but it's not moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Uh-oh. Rohan, are you the
You're
backup?
on.
Are you second fiddle here, or congratulations, you've made it to the front row.
Yeah.
Okay, so the plan was that if in case his power goes down, I'll showcase the inner loop perspective.
Okay.
So
Fair
Marc
really?
is going.
Okay. I was kind of joking that you'd have to jump on right now, to be honest. But if you have something ready to go, that's super cool.
Yeah, I don't know if we lost Marc for good or not. So
yeah, hopefully he'll rejoin.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the inner loop for now, and
sure.
And I hope that he comes back while we are demoing that.
Sounds
okay,
good.
So
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll go with starting to share my screen first.
Yeah, you should be able to collaborate.
And
if not, let me know.
Entire screen. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can see me.
Oh, okay. All right.
There you go.
So,
all right.
Looks good.
I already have that Quarkus project bootstrap that Marc was bootstrapping. So I'll just try to open it up with my IntelliJ.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take some time to load up. Okay.
Is this a different IDE than we had that?
No, I think it's the same one.
Oh,
you mean the one
using...
that Marc was using? Yeah, both are IntelliJ Ultimate editions, so I think it's the same.
Maybe he has dark mode on or something.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, he has dark mode on. But I usually keep the mode to light mode for presentations.
Yeah.
Since it's a bit easier to see. Anyway, so this is a standard Quarkus application. So as you can see, Marc bootstrapped the project, and it bootstrapped the standard Quarkus project with all the standard dependencies. So very basic, and it has this simple endpoint of hello, and where we are simply returning OpenShift hello OpenShift.tv. So let's just try to run it from our locally Quarkus.mvn. So in order to run it, I'll just package it first and just compiling it so that the job builds up and everything is fine.
Is this like a test pass to make sure that it'll...
Yeah, I have built it earlier as well, but it's just a test pass. You're right. So it should be finished now. Okay, so in order to run, I will run it just like any other Quarkus application. So I'll just run mvn Quarkus dev, and I think we should be able to see it access it through a browser. Right. Is it accessible now?
Oh, looks like Marc's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's just keep rolling with Rohan's deal, and we
can pick back up. Sure. All right. So I just launched mvn Quarkus dev, and I was able to see the application running locally, and our endpoint should also be doing just fine. Hello OpenShift.tv. So
there you go.
So we have the application running locally, and as a Java developer, this is the thing that we are all familiar with. We are all familiar with tweaking our code and deploying it locally onto our local machines. But now we want to deploy this same application to Kubernetes, and here for Kubernetes, usually Java developers have, when they are testing their applications on top of Kubernetes, they usually have some local Kubernetes clusters running where they can play with their application. And right now I'm using Minikube for that, and my Minikube seems to be running. So first, I'll start with containerizing this Java application into a container image and pushing it to some container registry. So if I would have been not using JCube, I would have to write a Docker file first and then run the Docker commands like Docker build, Docker push to do that. But when I'm using JCube, I only need to add this plugin. So I have already added it just to save time. So in order to use JCube, you just have to install a simple plugin in your pom.xml. So just like any other Maven plugin, you are just adding add just another Maven plugin to your project, which deals with the Kubernetes operations. So once this plugin is added, we can go ahead and start using it. So I'll first start with containerizing the application into a Docker image. So first for that, it's just easy as running this code, ambient latest build. And since the plugin is in profile, Kubernetes Maven profile, so I'll just specify the profile here. And it's gonna start building the container image for our application.
Cool. And this is this similar to the, like, Marc deleted a bunch of Docker stuff out of his repo?
Yeah. It's because
kind of the equivalent.
JCube generates them.
Yeah.
So JCube generates them automatically, and you see that JCube took this image as the base image for our application, and I'll show them. So JCube, Docker. All right, so JCube generated a default opinionated Docker file for you, and it submitted it to the Docker daemon that was running, and it used that to build your Docker image. So I'll try to run this image locally from here. Docker run. Okay, it seems to be running just fine, and just like running it locally. So now we want to push this application. So generally, this is the standard workflow. When you're working with Kubernetes, you have to containerize your application. You have to push it to some registry, external or public registry, internal public registry. So I'll start with pushing it to my queue, and for that So earlier we saw JCube build the image. Let me check the images. So JCube built the image with some default name because we didn't provide any kind of configuration of what kind of name we want to have. So we can easily change. We'll first try to change it, and we would need to change it to align it with standard Docker image names like registry username and then name of the repo tag, etc. So in order to do that, I'll just do ambient latest build, and I'll provide that parameter to JCube, that JCube use this as the name of the image. So the registry would be query.io. I'm just going to append it to the name and my username and the code Quarkus. What was the name? Code with Quarkus. Okay. Ambient latest build. Code with, sorry, query.io. My username, code with Quarkus, and latest. So this would configure JCube to generate the image, but with this this name, which would allow us to push the image. Oh, sorry, I forgot to specify the profile, and it's in the Kubernetes profile. So one thing that's really nice with JCube is that you can use it like on any other Maven plugin, and we are used to use different kind of profiles when we are building projects. So you can have you are building your application in standard mode, you just build it as a jar. When you can have a Kubernetes profile or Docker profile too. So to have your image, have your application packaged as a jar or as a Docker image. So, okay, so the build finished and seems like JCube created the image for us with the standard, with the name we provided. So I'll just try to push it. I would need to specify the property again. Okay, so I have so JCube allows you to configure the registry credentials either through Docker login or through your Maven settings.xml or through the plugin XML configuration. So you can configure so I'm pushing to some registry and we need to provide credentials for that. So I have them in my m2.xml, settings.xml. Just like any Maven repository, you provide credentials for your Docker container registry here, and it's gonna work fine. So it's pushing now.
The good thing with JCube is that it reads the credentials.
Let's check whether the image is there or not. So I'll go to my query and code with Quarkus is there. Tags, and yeah, looks like it was pushed a few seconds ago. So we looked at how we containerized the application to a Docker image and pushed it to some registry without even having to take a look at Docker or Docker files, anything, just plain old Java way of doing things. So now we'll try to generate the Kubernetes manifest. If you are not using JCube, you would need to use write them manually, but JCube has a goal for that, which is MVN resource, and it's going to generate opinionated manifest for you. And I would need to specify. So okay, I think I can just add it here in my pom.xml, the property for the image name. JCube to generate.
While you're working on this next step, you mind if we pause real quick for questions?
Yeah,
this can easily be configured through properties, but for now I'm just hard coding it here.
I'm not sure if you can hear us.
Okay, so
hold the questions.
I'll just try and create as resource and in the Kubernetes profile, and it should generate the resources for us. So it's okay. So as you can see, it generated a service, and let me show you the project folder. So as you can see, it generated the target classes. It generated the Kubernetes manifest. It generated an opinionated deployment for us with some additional things, additional labels, which can easily be configured, and it generated a default service for us. So all this without even knowing how to write YAML or anything, so which is really a good point when you're getting started with Kubernetes. So
awesome.
And image name also seems to be correct. So we built the image, we pushed it to some registry, we generated manifests as well. So we just now have to apply it to Kubernetes cluster, so we can go ahead and do that as well. So just like kubectl, you do kubectl apply, we have this code called mvn apply, which would just which would just pick these manifests and apply it onto the Kubernetes cluster. So
I think it's hilarious that you and I have the same problem spelling Kubernetes at times. It's always the R and the N I reverse.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so it looks like it deployed the application and pod is running as well. So I'll just check it again. Okay, I think it's from the previous one when I was testing the demo, and I'll check the services. and it's a cluster IP service, so which means our application is accessible from within the cluster. We'll change it later. And hello. Okay, and application seems to be working fine. And I'll just exit it from here, and I'll generate the resources again. So we by default JCube generates the service with type cluster IP, which means it's only accessible from within the cluster. But let's change it for the demo purpose. I mean, get this resource, get the supply, and I'll just provide a property JCube.enricher JCube service.type equals noteport, and I'll just specify the profile here, and it should update this service type to noteport. So
Cool. This should let us curl that particular service from outside the cluster.
All right, so IP. Looks like it's noteport now, so we can access it from outside cluster as well. I'll just check what's the JCube IP, and so noteport service can be accessed as at a static port on the node's IP. So we should be able to access it like this, and yeah, now our application is running inside Kubernetes, and I'll just try to check the hello, and it also seems to be working just fine.
Nice.
So this pretty much sums the demo for, I mean, the first part of the demo. I'm not sure whether Marc wants to take over from here or not.
Yeah, Marc's back. He seems stable for now.
Welcome back.
Sorry for before. I'm having trouble with electricity this afternoon. It's really bad timing. Sorry for that.
You should have gone into the office.
You so funny.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm not sure if my connection is fine or my video is all fine.
It's fine. It looks
fine.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share again my screen.
I think we were just around the spot. You had just deleted the Docker bits and had moved maybe a little bit past that.
Yeah, I think it's good that Rohan also showed his part, because we actually got to see what I'm going to describe in the pipeline. Okay, so
any questions for Rohan before we jump into this next bit?
Yeah, good point, Ryan. Right, like there was golf claps, people were hyped in chat, but any questions? Was that not clear?
It seemed pretty clear to me. One of the first steps that you did, Rohan, was a Maven build locally. That build is actually going to happen in the cluster normally, right? When you're running that.
So whenever you are packaging your application, you would packaging it as a container image. So you would put the jar inside that container image. So I don't think it would be.
Oh, so if you would be doing a local build.
It performs a local build, but if you are using the OpenShift Maven plugin and it uses the S2I build strategy, the build will happen in the cluster. So it depends a little bit.
Configurable. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I understood the workflow, how things were going. And especially when you're doing local, you want to do those builds locally and get that local test feedback before you make your commits or promote your changes. So yeah, nice job on the local loop.
Definitely.
Okay. So yeah, from my side, anyway, I'm not sure why part of this. Maven wrapper. Oh, I deleted the Maven wrapper. Anyway, I will use the Maven normal. So basically, when Java 11. Okay, sorry, my flow stopped before, so now it's hard. Okay, but basically the application we bootstrapped should build normally. We remove the tests. Yeah. So now we can configure the POM. There's one small change in the new Quarkus version, and by default it's now using fast jar packaging. But JCube is still still doesn't recognize this, so we are going to configure the application to use the Uber jar instead. So basically, when we package the application, we should see here the runner jar. Yeah, so we generate this runner. Okay, and next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a profile specifically for the CI environment. So and for the build, I'm going to add the OpenShift Maven plugin. Okay. I have a few properties that I'm going to describe now. So as you saw before, Rohan configured the name of the image. This is important because we are going to publish this into the query registry. So it's required that this matches with my registry information. Also, since I'm going to use the OpenShift Maven plugin and I want the build to be produced locally because I want to push it, but we still don't support pushing from the OpenShift Maven plugin. So I'm going to use the JIP strategy, which does support it. So what JCube will actually use JIP in order to build the container image. And then, since we are going to deploy to the dev sandbox, usually JCube generates a deployment config, but the sandbox is based on OpenShift 4.5 or 6 or 7, I don't know. But still doesn't support,
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, so anyway, what we want is to generate a deployment. Also because in order to pull the image from JIP, it will from Quay, it will work better. So basically, the setting what generates is a deployment instead of the default deployment config. Since we are working with a snapshot and we are not providing versioning, so the image is always in the latest. What we are telling JCube to do here is that whenever we apply the resources, that it should recreate them. So it will tear down whatever it created before, and then it will create new resources for that. And again, for the deployment pull policy, we are going to use always, again, because we are using this latest tag, and we are going to overwrite it if we. This could be like maybe the continuous delivery pipeline for a dev environment. So we are using this latest tag, and we want it to be refreshed. So even if the image exists in the cluster registry, we want it to be pulled again. So this is the other setting that we are going to add. Okay, so this is my query registry, which is empty. And now I'm going to start by creating the GitHub pipeline. So, okay, so this goes in the GitHub workflows directory, and I'm going to create pipeline. Okay. Okay, so I have some settings already. I'm going to add this. Okay, so the name of the pipeline, demo pipeline, and we want this this workflow to trigger whenever we push to the main branch. The first steps would be, I'm going to remove this because I didn't add the wrapper, okay? But what we want is, this is what probably all of you are familiar with. So basically what you want is to build the project and check that everything works and so on. So what the fuck? Sorry. So some of the files that were added with the Quarkus Bootstrap, I deleted them by accident, and now.
Oh boy.
Anyway, I'm going to just use this feature from. Okay. Anyway, let's see. This is not.
Are the advantages of using an IDE. I'd never be able to undelete things with my command, with my Vim editor.
I know, right? Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so lots of stuff got added here by accident. Going to delete. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, this is the important thing. Commit files. Push. Okay, so this was the empty repo. It should contain some files now, and a new GitHub action workflow should have been started.
Cool.
Okay, so this is usual stuff, right? Check out the repository, set up Java 11, and start the build process for Quarkus. Hopefully, this will complete once it downloads the dependency. The project is not that complex, so it should take like 30 seconds. But basically, this is what we all know, okay? Let's wait for it to complete. So build success, and yeah, it completed successfully. So the next step that I want to add is the push to queue. So what Rohan did manually, we can add this to the pipeline. So again,
where was that build running? That last one that you showed?
Yeah.
In the GitHub
In Actions.
virtual machine.
Yeah.
So the workflow work in a virtual machine. So you define. Well, yeah, you define here the base image where this job is going to run. So this is running in an Ubuntu virtual machine on GitHub. Okay, so my laptop is not right now. It's free. As we were saying before, for the credentials when pushing, JCube is really smart and it will try to infer them from your laptop. So if you have settings in your M2 directory, or if you have your you logged in through Docker or whatever, it will take them from your laptop. But since we are running this in a GitHub action, we need to provide these credentials. One of the ways that we can provide them are by using these variables, okay, these properties, these minimum properties. And when I was showing you the repository, I also showed you that I had these two secrets defined. So these basically are defined here. I will show you again, but very quickly. So queue username, queue password, and this match with my robot account. So I have a robot account which has credentials for this specific repository, and these credentials are the ones that I stored in my GitHub repository. Okay, so just by adding this, we should be able to push to queue. So
cool.
We should see another action being triggered now. Same steps as before. The first thing, it will build the project in the virtual machine that's bootstrapped here, and then you can see the new step that's already here, push image. So whenever the build completes, again 30 seconds or so. So Quarkus downloads lots of dependencies. So now my repository is empty, and once the action completes, we should be able to see the pushed image here.
Pretty fast for a for a Java build.
I was about to say, yeah, like.
And free
That's amazing.
resources, you know?
So
like usually with free hosting, I'm like, oh, this build's going to take an hour, or, you know.
Right.
This is
no, but it works quite well. So now it's in the push step. So you can see it's running here. And then once it downloads the JCube dependencies, you should see that the Jeep build is starting, and then that the push step is also. So it completed successfully. We now move here. You can see that the image was pushed, and just a moment ago. So if we check the image content, we should see that the Jeep core base layer, and then the layers that we added on top of it. Okay, so next step, we want to deploy it into the developer sandbox. So probably you've seen this a lot of times in these OpenShift TV shows.
Yeah, we've mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention it again just for good measure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really cool because we can get to try OpenShift as developers, and this is my cluster right now. It's clean, and one other tool I wanted to show today, because it fits really well with what we are showing, is the OpenShift the OC login action to login into an OpenShift cluster that it's provided by Red Hat. So this is a GitHub action, and I'm going to add it and I will describe it. So basically, next step, authenticate with OpenShift. We need to provide these input variables, the server. This is provided as a secret, the token. So this is the one that you would get when you go here and copy login commands. You would see that there is a token there and the server. So you would get those values, and you can set them in the GitHub repository as secrets, as we saw before with the Quake credentials. And I'm also going to set the namespace, because by default, whenever you log in into OpenShift, it uses the code. I'm not sure why, but anyway, I'm going to set the namespace too. And finally, I'm going to add the invocation to JCube. So what we saw before that Rohan did locally, and in this case, generate the cluster manifests and apply them. And you can see it's a very, very simple pipeline, but it's kind of powerful because it's doing a lot of stuff. So CI to. So again, push. If everything works, we should be able to see a new action invocation.
New action, new build, new deploy.
Queued.
So same as before. Yep. All right, we did the steps all of the times, but I think it's clearer, right?
Does any of these build results get streamed back to your IDE, or is there any backflow of communication?
Well, that's
just a push.
Yeah. That's more up to, if you might be able to configure more stuff with GitHub Actions. I mean, there's the integration of GitHub with IntelliJ is pretty cool, but I mean, there are tons of things that you can do. I'm just showcasing how, like a very, very simple pipeline, but it's actually kind of powerful, because with other tools, in order to do this, you would require a lot of, I don't know, lots of configuration, lots of stuff. And you can see that this is working really out of the box for a recently bootstrapped Quarkus project. So again, now when you see the deployment, you will, I mean, it's kind of, for me, it's mind blowing. So. Okay, so now is the authenticate step. So if everything goes well, this should succeed. Yeah. And now the part where we are deploying to the dev sandbox. So if we go to the Quake repository, this should update to a few seconds. And here we are already seeing that we have the deployment. Okay, so
Awesome.
if we open here, we will be able to see hello OpenShift TV, just like we configured in the project.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, the next step can be like very easily. I'm going to change the resource and okay. So continuous delivery, right? So feed change greeting meet and push. Again, we should be able to see a new invocation of the pipeline. And when this completes, the result here should obviously change to the new value, right? I'm not sure if there are any questions that we can answer while this builds, but
looking through chat.
Yeah, same.
I haven't seen any. Oh, I saw one earlier that's asking about the differences between the OpenShift plugin and the Kubernetes plugin.
Right. Rohan kind of answered that in chat, but let's talk about it on air.
Okay, so yes, I think I said this when we were introducing the project, but again, Kubernetes Maven plugin is the one you want to use if you are targeting any Kubernetes cluster, even if you want to target OpenShift. But if you want to use the more fine-grained configurations or specifics for OpenShift, you should be using the OpenShift Maven plugin. So it especially for the inner loop where you want to debug and do all of this stuff, it kind of makes more sense because the builds will run in the OpenShift cluster and well, lots of things that are more specific to OpenShift. However, if you prefer to use the Kubernetes Maven plugin to target an OpenShift cluster, there's no problem either. You will stick to the vanilla resources that Kubernetes offers, right? So this completed again, and basically this should, yeah. So if I refreshed, and we can see the new message. I'm not sure if we have time, but we can also show if this doing this for native, but it will take like 5 minutes for the build. So I'm not sure if we have time for that. But basically, adding another flag will enable this to be to create a native build and produce a native image.
Nice.
Oh, huh.
So Natalie is asking in chat about the inner loop. What's the state of Podman support for JCube?
Okay, so Podman with the new versions should be supported because basically if you want to use it with ease, you should install the Podman Docker tools. So it will basically be transparent. If not, we support Podman by configuring the Docker host environment variable, but this takes more work. So you need to actually start the Podman in a given mode and then configure the host. So depending a little bit on how you want to, the complexity you want, if you just install the Docker, I'm not sure how the package is called, but if you install this Docker toolset, it should work for you.
Question in chat. Does native require Quarkus? Like, is Quarkus a dependency? I don't think it is, right?
Does native? I'm not sure. I don't understand.
I don't know what code Walla Walla define native a little bit better, but is there any dependency on Quarkus at this point?
No. This is basic. I'm using Quarkus to showcase how this works. Okay,
right.
But so, you can use Spring, you can use even Micronaut now, so you can use whatever. Okay, I'm just going to set this just in case we have time. So, but yeah, there is no need to add to have Quarkus. JCube works with many different frameworks: Spring Boot, Wildfly, I don't know, you name it. Even even a standard Java application which has nothing else, you can configure it and it will work. So
nice.
No dependencies. Also, I would like to highlight that we don't depend on any CLI tools. Usually when you are using other tools, I don't know, any other alternatives to JCube for that are not for Java, you need to install something, right? So for Scaffold, you need to install their CLI or things like that. The nice thing with JCube and Java projects is that you can add it seamlessly to your project like another Maven plugin, and you don't need to install any other dependency. So that's kind of a great advantage. In order, you can see that the pipeline here was really simple. We didn't need to set up any other thing. So
yeah, I really like this. If you have a shared release pipeline and you want things, different kind of core components hosted, this gives you a great way to kind of showcase that and have certain shared assets be on, in this case, hosted on Quay. You could also swap in Docker Hub if you wanted to. We had 2 credentials to get into the Quay environment, but there could be probably Docker Hub credentials if you wanted to go that route, right? Yeah,
exactly. So
is this tied? I guess so. This is pretty tightly integrated with. No one else has GitHub Actions. That's a GitHub thing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
If there's an equivalent to other CI systems or something, but this is specifically a GitHub.
GitHub Actions are the plugins for the GitHub workflow execution. So it's the way that you can add functionality to these workflows. But if we review the pipeline here, I mean, this can be a build step in any other CI environment, Jenkins, Travis, Circle, anything, and it's very easily ported. So you just need to run a few Maven commands. This is not, but obviously you could use OC login or whatever, or you could configure the OpenShift credentials using our plugin. I used this because I wanted to showcase this other tool and how well it integrates. But the pipeline is really simple. Also, if we check what we configured for JCube, as we said before, JCube infers almost anything. The things we configured were more related to this being able to reload the latest tag in the cluster and things like that, but nothing specific for the application. So you can see that it's really, really easily configurable. So, okay. So I triggered a native build just in case we might have time to see how this pans out. But basically, to make it native, I just added a profile and a flag for JCube, and that's it. And it will switch to native. So that's kind of cool too.
Nice. This is very nice. I like this. Any questions from the audience at this point? Just out of curiosity, get them in now before we have to jump to another show here in 2 minutes.
Yeah, we got to wrap up. I like seeing this. Is really, really cool, especially if you're a Java developer. I like seeing how this is progressing and the growth around GitHub Actions.
Yeah.
That action support gives it something kind of uniquely different from what have been seeing with the Odo command line tool and that kind of development pattern. One of the things I liked from doing a Odo push is the build results are streamed back to your command line, and you can tail a log of the build. And I know it's totally available in GitHub, which is even nicer, because then in a way, if I had a team of folks that I wanted to share those results with, this is maybe a more centralized kind of hosted approach for raising visibility on some kind of shared assets that you want to make sure everyone has access to. So for more advanced pipelines, this is really, really cool.
Really slick, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I think we ought to move it on to the next show.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to all of our guests today. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you to our guests. Thank you, audience, for watching. We're going to be talking about a brand new project called SigStore up next on the OpenShift Commons Hour with Karina. So look forward to that. SigStore is going to make signing images and signing things in general a lot easier in life. So this will be a great show coming up. So thank you, Marc. Thank you, Rohan. I really appreciate you both coming on and seamlessly accounting for your power issues as well. Good stuff.
Okay. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks. See you all next time.